Your playoff-bound Denver Broncos get good and bad news before a must-win, win-or-go-home situation against the Buffalo Bills. And the age-old question, what do you want first, the good or the bad news? Well, if you know and you are subscribed to Sports Talk Denver, you know all we do is talk about the good news first, so that's what we're going to do. Diving in does help me out a lot if you believe in the Denver Broncos' chances of going to Buffalo. If you would like and subscribe. I need help real quick before we dive into the news to decide what to do with my Von Miller stuff this week. I got him up in the studio in a couple of places. Do I need to take it down? It's an incredible storyline to me that the last time the Broncos were in the playoffs, you had Von Miller take us to the Super Bowl and then win Super Bowl MVP. And now our first game back in the playoffs, we are going to Von's new house, the Buffalo Bills. So let me know in the comments, would you take it down this week? I got plenty of other stuff I could put up there. I just don't want to jinx us. We need this. We need to win. Let's dive into the good news of the day. If you were to ask Sean Payton at this point in the season, what drove him the most nuts about this team, last year at this time when we had Russell Wilson, he would say it was the number of sacks. That's his biggest pet peeve. He does not like a quarterback who creates his own stats. He even goes out there and says that sacks are a quarterback stat as much as they're an offensive line stat. That's why he loves Bo Nix, because he avoids the sack. But what he would say that drives him most nuts about the team this year is just the number of penalties. If you take a look at the most penalized team by yardage, you are seeing the Denver Broncos way too high on this list, and you're not seeing a lot of playoff teams above them. They definitely have been more hurt because of costly penalties than the Buffalo Bills, who you got to scroll way further down on this list to get to. And the biggest area where we have penalties is obviously offensive line holding calls, but the one that hits us the most is going to be our defensive pass interference, because Vance Joseph trusts our dudes on an island. So the good news is that the Denver Broncos had their referees assigned for this game, and we got the refereeing crew who throws the least number of flags in a game, so much so that really high potent offenses hate playing a game when Bill Vinovich is the head referee. So I think this is great news. Sean Payton's biggest pet peeve about this team, you should see a game where you are not really seeing a bunch of nickel and dime little those little ticky-tack fouls getting called on Pat Surtain. I think this is going to make Josh Allen's job a lot harder, because you're going to have Pat Surtain and Riley Moss having the ability to be really physical with those receivers. And we've seen Pat Surtain shut down way better receivers than he's going to have to this week with Amari Cooper. And, they shipped off Stephon Diggs. So I'm not scared of that Buffalo Bills offense whatsoever. And especially when you consider the fact that we're going to be able to play more physical than we typically get to. So now let's get to the bad news. So the bad news of the day is that Vance Joseph has taken our defense that only has one first-round draft pick in it, which is Pat Surtain, and has it breaking our total record for a number of times we've sacked a quarterback, which is wild. We have probably defensive player in the year in Pat Surtain. We have Nick Bonito in the running for sack leader. He has taken this defense with no first-round talent on it and made it perform like one of the best defenses in the league. So there are a bunch of teams out there across the NFL who are interested in Vance Joseph for a head coaching job. And so Mike Silver came out today, said both the Jets and the Chicago Bears will interview Vance Joseph to become their future head coach. Obviously, losing a defensive coordinator when our defense has been playing so well would be like a real bummer. Cool thing here is that seeing the Jets officially put in word that they want to interview him. And so that's an official thing. The Chicago one is just a rumor at this point. Cool to see that Sean Payton went out and just gushed about Vance Joseph. He said, I think Vance Joseph will be a head coach in the league again, and this is the perfect time to interview him, because when you're winning in the postseason, things are shinier. So you see Sean Payton go out and gush about Vance Joseph and say, I think he actually will be a good head coach. He's a great communicator. He's a strong voice. Players play hard for him. So I think Sean Payton out there just bragging about Vance Joseph is going to earn him a ton of goodwill with any coordinator under him. Like you want to work for a boss who isn't afraid that you're going to outshine them. So I think this is a huge sign of confidence from Sean Payton, just like he fights for his players to earn those incentives. And he drew up plays for Cortland Sutton yesterday to get his bonus. He is going to battle right now for his coordinators. And that is a fantastic sign to me. I think it's also a great sign to me that we have some talent in the wings. This is why we brought in Jim Leonard, who a lot of people had as a defensive coordinator, who is now our defensive back coach. So I think he could easily fill in for him. And if Vance Joseph does indeed get another coaching job in the league, the Denver Broncos would end up getting not one, but 2 third-round compensatory draft picks. We've seen what the Broncos do in mid to late rounds. Like, we've stolen Quinn Miners. We've gotten Jonathan Cooper. Like, we've found a ton of talent late in the draft, and this is a fantastic situation here where we lose Vance Joseph and we end up getting 2 third-round picks, and we have a front office who is just obsessed with picks and very good at turning those picks into great things. So whether or not Vance Joseph gets a job, I really think this is win-win because Sean Payton has shown that he goes to bat for his coordinators. Coordinators are going to work even harder for him than they would have before. If Vance leaves, we get 2 third-round draft picks, plus we have Jim Leonhard waiting in the wings. And it's just a great sign that other people in the NFL want our talent. It just shows that we're great at producing talent. So that'll be a story we continue to follow. In addition to getting those 2 third-round compensatory picks for Vance Joseph, the Broncos are in line to get more compensatory draft picks just for talent we currently have on the team. Because if either Jarrett Stidham or Zach Wilson go out and sign a big deal, we'll get a third-round compensatory draft pick for losing them as well. So the Broncos are set to have all of our draft picks, plus the draft picks we accumulated by trading Baron Browning, and possibly, we're talking 3 compensatory draft picks moving into next season after already making the playoffs. Just wild, great work here. So as we go out, so really good news and bad news. We have an awesome pro Denver Broncos refereeing crew. Negative, we could lose Vance Joseph. Other couple quick storylines here. Just what's going to make the Buffalo Bills such a formidable team is that already this year they have beat both of the number 1 seeds in the NFL. They beat the Detroit Lions and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. That makes them a very tough out. On the other side, we know the Buffalo Bills have a history of kind of fumbling it at the goal line. And this is a team that we went into Buffalo last year in a game that no one thought we had a chance. And Sean Payton out-coached Sean McDermott. And I just think if you were to look at this game on paper from a totally objective point of view, who is the better coach? I don't think anyone debates that Sean Payton's the better coach. Who is the better defense? I don't think anyone debates that the Denver Broncos have the better defense. And then you're really just talking about hey, can we devise a system to stop Josh Allen? We did it last year. Why couldn't we do it again this year? Because if you're looking at the other side of this and why it is an 8.5-point favorite for the Buffalo Bills, you are talking about a rookie quarterback going on the road to play against the league MVP and Josh Allen. But I think this would put a stamp on the Bo Nix being a franchise quarterback, which I think we already all believe he is already. So great week of content coming up here. We got crosstalk interviews coming with Buffalo Bills creators. We got the Denver Broncos in the playoffs. I feel incredible. It was the best day at work everywhere. I just couldn't stop smiling. Hope you all are feeling the same and still Bo leaving. I better start hitting those by Sunday.